Been thinking about what Kanye West said ages ago. He's a guy I've never really had any respect or admiration for in any way whatsoever, because I really like the song that Move On Up, which he turned into a song called Testify. And I thought, not a very talented person if he has to regurgitate music like the Fugees did in their second album, but the first album was actually pretty good. Anyway, the reason why I think about it so much is when he said slavery is a choice, and he got a lot of crap for that. The thing is, I never found the guy from, let's say, that time when he had that kind of open discussion with Donald Trump, for example, and any other time I've seen him, and some of the faux pas he's done on stage and various other things. When he took that award, I know it was during the award ceremony, and he got pissed off because of Taylor Swift and blah blah blah, and said that what's her face, Beyonce should have won, blah blah blah. It was all a little bit ridiculous and didn't really point to someone with the highest intellect. But sometimes, different types of intelligence, as I've mentioned before. Sorry about the noise. Bulgarian roads aren't that good. Hey, at least I haven't got annoying government in my face all the time, and I don't know, people who speed traps and all that sort of stuff like you get in New Zealand all over the place. You do that here as well, but it's not as much. Anyway, just hopefully the sound isn't too crap in this rainy car. So, back to the point. He said about slavery being a choice, and it made me think about a lot of things. Being a red pill person for quite a number of years now, and I would say long before I was red pilled, I was always someone who questioned and asked my Bible teacher back when I was about 12 years old, sorry. If God can do anything, why can't he make a road long enough? That old argument. My dad had told me that one. I said, so I had to tell it to her. She was so dumb, my Bible teacher. I had to tell it to her in about 4 or 5 different ways. Can he lift a rock? Can he create a rock so big that he can't lift it? And finally, no, he can do anything. This is in South Africa. No, he must. He can't. He can't do that. He can't. Blah blah blah. She was just a moron. Didn't understand what I was talking about. So I always questioned authority, always questioned what I was told, and it always really got to me in life that people didn't question what they were told. It always really got to me the different racial groups, including my own. They start to get groupthink. I really don't like that about the Scots ourselves. We've got a lot of things. We've got a lot of subservient problem where we allow the other country next to us to rule us, right? And we accept a lot of shit we shouldn't have to accept. We're even talking now about second referendum for our independence, right? After 320 years, the last one was rigged, blatantly rigged. I mean, fucking blatantly rigged, right? And we're still talking about, should we do this? I mean, even if you took the small democratic aspects of that referendum, they scraped in like by a gnat's wing, a leprechaun's testicle. I mean, they slimed their way in by hook and crook, right? It's the English elite way is by hook or crook, right? And anyway, the long and short of it is, here we are again talking about whether we should be allowed a referendum. I mean, we're not asking that. Theresa May and whoever else is going to take over after that bat is gone are telling us that we don't have the right. Our own country, our sovereign country, apparently doesn't have its own right. So I'm always for the thing that we shouldn't be going for independence. We never voted to get into the UK. Therefore, we shouldn't be voting to leave. What we should have is we should declare independence, and then to keep those people happy who would call us fascists to do that such a thing, we should have a referendum in another 5 or 10 years' time to see who wants to enter the UK. And that would be the first ever democratic election to enter the UK. That would solve all problems, right? But anyway, so it made me think that we really do, I know it's not the same thing, although the first slaves to go to America, a lot of black people in America do not like it when I say this, but it's true. The first slaves in America were not black because the slave trade opened up a long time before the slave trade in the US and the Arab and African slave trade, where Arabs used to buy slaves off of African warlords. because this is who was enslaving people, not white people. It was African warlords, and they were being sold on to Arab slave traders who'd been doing this for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So before that happened, and before slavery was kind of frowned upon, you used to have slaves being captured in ports, places like Liverpool, which is probably the furthest south it would happen. So it did happen in England, but it was mostly in Belfast and in the Clyde in Glasgow, well, outside of Glasgow, and that's where you'd had. So that's why a lot of slaves were from Scotland and Ireland. And oh my god, there's no crash noise now. Okay, good. So what happened was, around the 1620s, the Dutch and the British and everyone else, they kind of discovered the slave trade available to them. And that's why, so for close to 100 years, all there were was white slaves. And American Indians, of course, who were the first people who were treated barbarously by the invaders, the colonizers, right? So, as far as slavery being a choice, well, I saw an account of a Scotsman who had escaped his enslavement in America twice. He'd actually got back to the UK. The first time he actually got all the way back across the ocean back to the UK, and somehow, I don't know how this happened. I need to go back and read that actually. I can't remember how it happened, but he ended up getting captured again. I'm pretty sure he made it all the way back, or it might be the second time he made it back, but I know he got captured and taken back because as much as they will go on like movies like Lincoln actually signed what's it called, signed orders for people who used to work for the government, paid by the government, to return slaves to their slave masters. This is effectively taxpayers' money being used, again, even back then, to help corporations and companies get their slaves back again. And that's how this guy was returned. Of course, it became easier later on when they had slave revolts. Divide and conquer always happened, so they thought, well, because the white slaves were weaker anyway, because they were generally alcoholics who were captured and passed out drunk, right? So they were much weaker than these, basically captured heads of tribes and things in Africa who were enslaved by warlords or other heads of other tribes, right? So they were a lot weaker physically, and what was the point of paying for them? They became like canaries in the coal mine. You would basically dime a dozen, you know what I mean? The paddies and the jocks, they were worth bugger all. African slaves worth a lot more. So there started being less and less and less of them. Plus, it was easier to keep track of the black ones because if you were black, you were pretty much a slave. Therefore, what are you doing? Roaming around free? So when these uprisings came around I think it was 17 or 1800, I think it was 1700s, they freed the white slaves in America. And these people probably went on to become what are now rednecks today. And it's funny that they generally become the most racist, those who were treated that way themselves before. And you see this today with African Americans, how the attitude in a lot of African Americans is actually so hypocritical. Not, of course, all, I'm just saying in many. And the people who should understand the most, for example, you take your right-wing African Americans, not the smart ones, the real dumb ones, your dumb Trump supporter as opposed to your smart Trump supporter. They're actually very against their own kind. Don't ever do that. anywhere on the net